Welcome everybody to the Lavish Show. I am Dr. Shira Stallworth. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Shira Stallworth. We also have a new episode of the Up Close with the Prophet show coming out, so you don't want to miss that either. But on today's show, we will have film directors, producers, movies, and actors all on the set today. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Lavish Show. Everybody to the Lavish Show. I have a very phenomenal guest on the set today. Her name is Miss Schledia Phillips. Nice to meet you.
Oh, so nice to meet you.
I'm so glad that you're here. For everybody that know, the show, we usually do things in the community and supporting organizations, but this time I want to support my authors, my writers, my film directors, and producers. So Miss Schledia is here because she is a well-known author. So tell our audience, how did you get into writing?
Well, writing is something that I did even as a child. But I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, so I would write a chapter or two of something, write a short story, and I'd tear it up and throw it away. And then, even in college, I would still write a little bit. I had these stories in my heart that I wanted to tell, but I just did not think that I could accomplish it. I didn't think I could do it. And I went through a really rough time. Whenever I was a teenager, a really difficult time. I struggled with depression. There just came a point where I'll never forget it. I was sitting in my van, and I heard this sentence in my head, plain. That was a word that I knew quite well. It described me perfectly. And that's how I had always felt about myself. And it just came to me. And I pulled out an envelope out of my purse, and I wrote that down. And that was the beginning of Plain Jane.
Wow. And Plain Jane is this book here that's featured. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that book, Plain Jane. Who's it based on, and what inspired you to write it?
Well, what inspired me to write Plain Jane was the things that I had been through in my own life. But putting your own story out there is really personal. So I didn't want to do that. So I created a character who saw herself in the same way that I saw myself growing up. I made her to have the level of intelligence that I wanted to have. When I was growing up, she's very, very intelligent, and but that's where she never felt pretty. She always felt plain. But she found her strength in her intelligence.
Wow.
And so, but at the same time, because she didn't have confidence in herself, whenever a person has a low self-esteem, they can be a really great, wonderful person and still be taken down a very dark path because of that low self-esteem. And that's what I wanted to explore. And I wanted to give people, a lot of times people don't understand depression when they don't experience it, so I wanted to write through the eyes of a person struggling with depression that journey.
I love
going into that and how it can take a really seemingly wonderful person and spiral their life into a place of them doing things you would have never imagined them doing, and even to the point of attempting suicide.
Wow. So this book is sort of like a testimonial book, really, in my point of view, dealing with depression.
Yes.
Even like you said, suicide. Is there a message, like a clear message on how to overcome that, or is there something in the book to kind of help your readers?
Yeah, there is. It kind of gives the journey of how she comes to that place of devastation in her life, and then you follow her story as she comes through that. So there's little nuggets of things in there that I learned through my own walk in life that I placed in there. Now, it's not, a doctor's viewpoint on it, but it's from the point of somebody who's been through it.
Right, and I love that because we have all type of writers, like you mentioned earlier, Stephen King, and different Tyler Perry, different authors, but I love to read books that we can base our life upon, If there's a nugget in there that can change my direction, I want to know how to change my direction. So you also wrote another book, Pretty Boy. Now, how was that, brought.
Well, Pretty Boy actually is a companion novel to Plain Jane. So
Okay.
in Plain Jane, you meet a character named Ray. Plain Jane is written through Erilyn's eyes, and Pretty Boy is written through Ray's eyes. It's his story. And in chapter 11 of both books, the characters' stories begin to intertwine. And so from that point on, you're reading the same story just from a different point of view.
So that is very creative. So if you're gonna get this book, you need to get Pretty Boy too. This is awesome.
Yeah, they do go together.
Yeah, I mean, I am amazing. And for my viewers, this is Miss Brooke J. Brown's mother. So, you know Brooke, she's my camera lady. She helps with the organization, Creative Women Enterprises. She's also recording this show today. So, I give her a big shout out because I appreciate her so much. So, she was like, you haven't met my mother, have you? I was like, no. So, my mom produced a movie. She's an author. So, she's on the show today because I want you to know who this woman is. She's a queen, and we have not recognized her enough on the coast. So, I'm pretty sure you're going to see her at some of my events that we have in the community. You know, just to piggyback off of Pretty Boy, was that based on to someone that you met?
No. His character is really just kind of created because he was the character that you met in Plain Jane, and so I had to come up with who do I want this character to be. I had to kind of create him from scratch.
Right. Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, is there a spiritual side to your writing?
Well, there is. I'm a Christian. And you see the spiritual side in Wildflowers. And I don't really touch on God really in Plain Jane or Pretty Boy outside of, there's a point where Erilyn in Plain Jane starts to question God.
Okay.
Why does God hate me? Why is God angry with me? Because when you're in depression, that's what you feel.
Yeah.
So when I was writing them, as a believer, I didn't want to necessarily be preachy in the books. I wanted to just tell these stories, but I also wanted to put little nuggets in there. So there are nuggets within them, but in Wildflowers, I actually present the gospel.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a break and we'll be back with Miss Schledia Phillips. Welcome back, everybody, to the Lavish Show. I'm sitting with my beautiful guest, Miss Schledia Phillips. She's an author, a producer, and I'm just so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
And I mean, all your books and things, and I'm holding the book, the soundtrack. Is it a soundtrack?
There's a soundtrack and a DVD.
Wow,
yes.
DVD to Wildflowers, a movie that she have written and produced, right? Tell us about Wildflowers.
Wildflowers is, like with the other books, I deal with real issues. And so in Wildflowers, I deal with abuse and domestic violence. And so I have a Christian character who meets this guy. She's new in town. She has no idea that he comes from a really bad home, but everybody has labeled him already that he's going to end up like one of his parents. His father's in prison for murder. His mother's an alcoholic and abusive. And so nobody gives him a chance, but she feels led to give him a chance and befriend him. And so it's about their relationship and how they end up falling in love with one another. But at the same time, with dealing with the abuse, you have a lot of things that have to be overcome.
Right, a lot of issues
Yes.
that she still deals with. Wow. So what inspired you to write Wildflowers?
Well, because I've been through an abusive relationship once again.
I love it.
Every writer is, if they're going to be honest, there is a piece of them in every one of their stories.
That's right.
And so I was in an abusive relationship whenever I was younger. And so I know how hard it is to get out of that.
Ooh.
I also know how we label love sometimes as love and it's not.
That's right.
And because we have to be healed after we've been through abuse as well. Because we think, well, that was love, that person loved me, and they didn't really love you to begin with.
Right.
But I wanted to explore, because I'm a Christian, I wanted to explore, what do you do when your faith tells you you're not supposed to get a divorce?
Wow.
but yet you're married to a person who's abusive.
That's right.
And you have that conflict. And so I had a conflict in my own heart.
That's right.
Over things. And so it was kind of a way for me to explore that.
Right.
And to, now, I mean, I was married, and I'm not saying abusive. I had been in an abusive relationship before that, but I was in a marriage that wasn't good.
Right.
And so, but it was still, there was that same conflict.
Right, that tug of war.
Yes.
I know exactly. I've been divorced, so I understand perfectly what you're talking about. I used to quote the scripture, the wife sanctifies the husband. The wife sanctifies. But what if he's not going to be sanctified? He's still beating you up and coming home late. And then finally he just left. I was like, thank you, Jesus. He's not. So, you know, God delivered me from that type of relationship. So I'm so excited about that because, you know, your children watch you. You know, people watch you, and I'm just thankful that God, you know, He shed His light, you know, on me, on you, so you'll be able to, you know, share your light with other people, and that's what's important. You know, we go through tests and trials in life, but it teaches us things.
It does, and then we're able to take those things and help other people through those things that they're going. And I'm a firm believer that when God brings us up out of the valley onto the mountaintop, we're not supposed to go from mountaintop to mountaintop. We have to be willing to go back into the valley and grab those that are trapped in the valley and lead them out.
That is so true. And I mean, everything that you have spoken about today, I have another show called Up Close with the Prophet Show, and we had filmed that, and we had this lady from Atlanta, Georgia, and she helps women that are being abused in the church and sexual relationships and domestic violence. So, I mean,
it's a tough one.
It's
really tough.
So for you to write about it, you know, this would be perfect for young people, teenagers. You know, when we were growing up, I can't tell your author that I knew that, you know, talk about relationships or things. What do you do? So, you know, this book is very relevant today, you know, and you even made a movie. So how did that come along?
Well, I went to a screening of War Room, actually, is what it was. It was a screening of War Room before they put the movie out. I was invited by some minister friends of mine to go see it, and while I was there, at the end of the screening, a man stood up and he said, you know, we're putting together a group of people who want to make movies on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And if you're a writer, if you are interested in any form of filmmaking, acting, you know, we would like to talk to you. So I was down there.
You was like, yeah, me.
I made a beeline down there. And so I was invited to go to a meeting, and I took my books, and I was very prayerful about it before I got there. And I was like, what? You know, I got to think about how I'm going to pitch these books. And when I got there, I just knew in my heart that what I was supposed to talk about was wildflowers. And so that's all I talked about. I didn't mention Plain Jane or Pretty Boy. I just talked about wildflowers. And the lady who started the group, Susan Wolf, she took a copy of Wildflowers, and within a couple of days, she reached out to me and she said, yes, I'm going to make this into a movie.
That is a blessing. Even on the back of the book, fans are facing the giants and Fireproof. You know, Fireproof was a #1 Christian movie, you know, and it say you will enjoy this story of sacrificial love and redemption. I love it, and you know, I do want this from you. I really, really do. So just to let you know, the title Wildflower. How did you get that title?
The title, I have a funny thing about titles with all of my books. I have to have my title before I can even begin writing.
Exactly.
And so the title came to me through, I was driving down the road. I have a lot of inspiration from God when I'm in my vehicle driving down the road, just so you know.
Right.
I was driving down the road, and it was that time of year where black-eyed Susans were in bloom everywhere.
Okay.
On the sides of the roads, and I'm looking at these beautiful black-eyed Susans, and I see this character, Susan, and he calls her his black-eyed Susan. And his name is Aster, and so Aster is a type of wildflower as well.
Wow.
So they are wildflowers.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my goodness. So tell us now, how can we get the soundtrack, book, movie? Where do you have it at now?
Amazon is where you can get the books, and the soundtrack, I believe, is Spotify.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And also the movie is streaming right now on Faithflix.
Faithflix,
Yes.
Amazing. Well, it's a pleasure having you here. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to let you have final words.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Lavish Show. We're going to go into a quick clip from the movie Wildflowers from producer Miss Schledia Phillips.
My mother always insisted good can't come from a bad seed.
Pastor?
I got it.
I got it.
I believe in caring about all people, even those who get labeled by teachers as bad seeds.
Whatever.
But I believe God could do it.
We're both wildflowers.
I believe there was good in everyone. But I learned the hard way, there's not.
Can't get rid of the evil in you. You was born of it.
She approves of him and his background, where he's from. Just be careful. Motorcycles are dangerous.
And I'll be damned if I let my daughter date the son of a drunkard and a murderer.
There is bad in you.
Okay, that is awesome. So proud of you, and being a woman that's stepping out of your comfort zone, presenting your story to the world is such a blessing. And I know I want to do more work with you and bring you on my other show, Up Close with the Prophets, because I already can sense that there's ministry in you. Okay, so I'm just glad that you're here. What else do you have going on right now?
Well, I actually have a Bible teaching called Basic Training, Becoming Armed Soldiers in Christ, that is out there. It's available in English and in Swahili, so it's in 5 different countries within Africa. And so I'm really excited about that. Whenever that translation came along and the door being opened, it was really exciting to me. And so I have that out there, and then I'm presently working on a new book called Crossroads.
Wow, and you know, one thing, I'm working on my book, The Life of a Prophetess, and it has volumes to it. What would you advise a future upcoming author, to keep them encouraged? What should they be doing? How to put their book out? And we might have to do a session on all that stuff at another time.
Yeah.
But how would you advise an upcoming author?
Well, I would say, one, whenever you have a time where you have writer's block come up, don't let that discourage you. Every writer goes through it. There are times whenever I just can't make myself write. And there are some people that'll tell you, it doesn't matter, you have to write every day. Well, sometimes life doesn't permit that.
Yeah.
So sometimes don't beat yourself up over that. If you have to go through a space of time, that inspiration will come back.
It will come.
And find your source of inspiration. It might be a CD with particular praise and worship music that just brings something up in you. Whatever it is, just use that. And whenever you've completed your work, I suggest getting a beta reader.
Okay.
And that's just, a beta reader is just, they're the ones that are going to look at it. They're going to, after you, they're going to come back and they're going to say, give you some input. They're not going to check grammar. They're
Right.
gonna check content. They're going to say, okay, I didn't follow along in this part, or you know what, this was really wonderful. Maybe you should expound on it more.
Right.
And after you get that, implement that, and just make sure that you get it professionally. And you'll have a
Edited.
wonderful art.
I know, I was talking to you earlier about working on a doctorate degree, before you finish that, you have to become an author because you got to put your research out there where people can follow and research and do what you say. And the number one thing is to edit it. And,
Yes.
and that can get expensive,
It can.
and getting it out there. So, and then of course you go through a publishing. Did you self-publish or had another company publish?
I do. I'm independently
Okay.
published. So
Awesome.
yeah. So, but no, I'm not self-published. I mean, there's a little bit of a difference there between self-published and independent.
Okay.
Because I'll pay for the covers and I pay for the editing and I pay for the work that's done for all that, the formatting and all that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. Anything else you want to tell our audience today, how we can contact you, and how we can search for your books and movies?
Well, my books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and those
Yes.
websites and all usually carry them.
Okay.
The soundtrack is available through iTunes as well. I heard.
Yes.
So I wasn't aware of that because I don't have an iPhone. I'm an Android person.
Yes.
So yeah, Amazon is the biggest place of getting that. And contacting me, I have a Facebook page.
Yes.
Schledia Phillips author, and I also have a blog that is called Pinky's Epiphanies. My nickname is Pinky, and so that basically is little spiritual insights every once in a while that I have. I'll just
Right.
put those out there, so I call it Pinky's Epiphanies.
Wow, you got Pretty Boy and Plain Jane here.
Yes.
I am so impressed. Oh my goodness. Yes. All right. Well, thank y'all. We'll be back, and thank you, Miss Phillips, for coming
thank you for
to
having
the
me.
Lavish show. You'll be back.